wanna be hardcore with your hat to the back, talking about the gaps in your raps, but I can't feel that hardcore appeal that you're screaming. Maybe I'm dreaming. This ain't Christopher Williams, still some MC got to feel one. Caps, I got to peel some to let niggas know that if you fuck with big and heavy, I get up in that ass like a wedgie. Says who, says me.
Welcome to Trashy Ring Attire. I am BD.
And I'm Q.
And it's time to get trashy.
Let's do it.
So, a couple pay-per-views have gone by.
Mm-hmm.
A couple interesting things have happened.
A few.
Let's just start with like a couple of things about general pay-per-view quality here before we get into anything else, just because I'm kind of curious about your thoughts on, we'll start with Survivor Series in general. You remember we had a conversation not long ago about the ending of a pay-per-view kind of ruining the pay-per-view for you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Just in general, what did you think about Survivor Series, though? Like as a pay-per-view as a whole?
I thought it was fun.
Booking aside. Yeah.
I
had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I thought it was a very exciting pay-per-view. Like, there were more than a few times where I kind of, like, was exclaiming my excitement.
Yes.
Just as a wrestling fan. Yeah, it was fine. It was a good pay-per-view.
There was a different, it was a concept pay-per-view that they don't utilize every single year. They certainly haven't utilized it to this degree.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into the main event later because there's just so much fun stuff to talk about there. But yeah, the team matches is something that I've always really enjoyed those. And they did 3 of them. Now that 10-man or 20-man, I guess, that was a complete clusterfuck.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I figured...
Well, you kind of knew that, though.
Yeah, going into it, I mean, knowing that there are, 5 tag teams on each side, that's ridiculous. Like, it was very reminiscent aesthetically of that whole Randy Orton and John Cena versus the entire Raw locker room match we had a couple of years ago.
Forgot about that. I really liked the team matches. They were a lot of fun. The women's match, to me, really showed the depth of the 2 rosters.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of how wrong I was when I said they should never split the women's roster when they finally have a good women's roster. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what a great match just to show the depth of both sides. Was not a fan of the end of that one though.
Oh, you mean the who won? Was it Charlotte and Bayley and then
Charlotte and Bayley won. It would have been nice to see Becky take one of them out.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have helped out Becky a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially since she's now Sans Championship.
Especially since she's now Sans Championship. We'll talk about that in a sec here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, women's match was good. Classy talked about this a little bit too. That men's match, I don't know if most people realize that the main one was over an hour long.
Yep. I mean, they had to make it over an hour long, especially in hindsight.
They did, and yet it didn't feel like it was an hour long.
No, it was a lot of fun.
Like, people talk a lot about that Bret Hart Shawn Michaels match and that hour-long match and how groundbreaking and amazing it was. Mm-hmm. I suppose it is physically amazing that they were able to do that. That match was boring as fuck. Sorry, Bret and Shawn. And I'm fans of Bret and Shawn. I really am. But an hour match with 2 guys should never happen, ever. And I know that they're planning on doing that with the girls.
No, they're doing 30 minutes.
Oh, is it 30 minutes? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So they're smart about that.
That's 50% better. I can live with that. But yeah, the men's match was over an hour, and I didn't feel it. I felt like they did a really good job, certainly with the physical part of the match. Like, they, for such a story, Survivor Series is such a story-driven match with so many different people. That sometimes it can be. Sometimes you don't get the best action out of it, but they actually threw in some pretty good action here, I thought.
Yeah.
They told stories on both sides of both sides of both teams.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like the Survivor Series matches, the 5-on-5 matches, are so cookie cut to not in a bad way, but cookie cut to showcase a little bit of diversity and kind of breaks in matches that you don't get bored. And I think that's great. It's amazing how many times WWE has butchered that over the past 20 said years. But like the men's match and the women's match, and the tag match to a good extent, showcased it like these matches can go on for a lengthy amount of time, in a positive way. And you can use that to tell compelling stories and put a few spots. I mean, it's not going to be technical masterpiece. They're not. That's not what these matches are meant to do.
No.
They're meant to tell they're meant to be a culmination of short character pieces throughout each of their segments. And when you make it into one kind of big story and a decent ending, then you have a pretty good match.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I think that the match even did a good job of making me look at the Wyatts, which I tend not to do, even though this weird Randy Orton thing is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yet I still looked at that, not in general, but I don't understand why I'm supposed to. I suppose it's kind of interesting in that they have already demonstrated more patience with it than one would expect for these type of things. Like when Cena was with the Nexus, it took all of 10 minutes to figure out how that was going to go. When Daniel Bryan was with the Wyatts as well, he was in that jumpsuit for what, a week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, something like that.
So Orton's not grown a beard and he sort of sticks out like a sore thumb. So you really can kind of telegraph where it's going, presumably at WrestleMania, which is going to end up being a lower card match on that much of a super card, and it's going to suck probably. Well, okay, that might be a little harsh. It may not suck. But again, it's the Wyatts. Like, they've broken them up and they've done this, but they've done this story before. And Randy Orton, I suppose if you have to have Randy on your show, I think a far more interesting idea than the predictable old, he's going to turn on him, presumably at the Rumble. I'll just call it now. He'll call, or it'll be like a half turn, and then the full turn will come at the next pay-per-view or something. I think something far more interesting would be to have Orton stay with him for the rest of his career. And just have him go out that way. Just be like, hey, remember when Randy Orton wasn't a crazy Bray Wyatt guy or whatever? I don't know. The thing with the Wyatts is they've broken them up and brought them back together so many times. I expect Rowan to come back. I wasn't surprised to see Harper when he came back at that pay-per-view. It doesn't mean I'm not glad to see Harper. I like Harper, but it was very predictable.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I think Bray Wyatt has a special connection with the fans that will let them. I mean, it's not just tolerate, but like they're still behind him.
No, I agree.
And even with like a gimmick that one could arguably say has gotten stale at this point, because they keep repeating the same crap over and over again. It's not necessarily his character, but just the storylines. And putting Randy Orton into the Wyatts does seem a little bit fresh, even if it isn't necessarily like it basically is a carbon copy of the Daniel Bryan thing.
Just played out longer.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows? I mean, obviously, the predictable thing is to turn him, and I'm 99% sure that is exactly what they're going to do, is have these two fight at WrestleMania. Hopefully with, I'm sure Orton's probably going to go over too, which is a mistake to say the least. But, who knows? Maybe this is something that'll have Wyatt come out on top. I mean, one good thing that has come out of this is that he finally has a goddamn championship.
Yeah, no, and that's fine, and it might be the penny belts that they ripped off of the Raw side. You're right, he does, and I mean, at least they're doing something with him, and he's not just sitting in limbo. And I like Bray Wyatt, and I want good things for Bray Wyatt, but yeah, I guess the only thing was, like, the Survivor Series was good enough that it actually got me interested in that. It got me interested to see, is Orton going to turn on Wyatt? I was only interested for that one part of the match, because that part of it had ramifications for that team. I was interested in seeing Strowman for the first time and probably last time ever. He's terrible.
Yeah, right? He is. He's
terrible.
Pretty bad.
And Sammy is having to, it's a lovely story for Sammy if he were going to win.
But he's not.
But he's not. So if you want, just send him back to NXT. We'll just watch him there. That's fine.
Zayn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to see him push back to the minors, but I'd rather see him in a capacity that's enjoyable to watch.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say like NXT is the minors, but no, I agree.
Well, I agree.
I mean, I agree with you. I'd rather see him doing something substantial in NXT than jobbing out to Strowman and on Raw.
You just know that Vince sees the red rooster when he looks at Sammy. You could just tell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. See, the thing is, like, I'm conflicted about Sami Zayn because what I generally like to do is, like, take my own subjectivity out of things when it comes to, who they should push or who they shouldn't push. I love Sami Zayn. I've yet to watch a Sami Zayn match that I didn't like. But taking my own subjectivity out of it, I know there are a lot of people who have, who aren't big on him. Mm-hmm. Like, they like him in the mid-card, or they like him where he is. And it's weird, and I think it's because they feel like people like Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, etc., have kind of overshadowed him. I mean, I don't feel the same way, but I don't know. I mean, like, I don't even know if there are enough people who feel that particular way to warrant keeping him in the position that he's in on the card.
Well, I mean, it's not. You're right. It's one of those things where there are talented guys coming up, and some of them are getting overlooked because there is a lot of talented guys that are coming up at the same time as those other talented guys, and that's fine. I'm not super surprised to see Sammy kind of on the bottom end of that, just because he does kind of have a different look. He does, there's a lot of reasons, mm-hmm. And I'm not even necessarily. Not that I think there's anything wrong with Sammy in the main event, because lest we forget, Sammy did have a semi-main event run already with Owens, which went over really well. Mm-hmm. But, even in the upper sort of mid-card, I mean, certainly better than losing to Braun, who I think you could make the argument that Braun is kind of lower card. I mean, he might not be for long, but, I mean, who has he really beat up until now?
I mean, Sin Cara?
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't remember. I think he's beaten like a local jobber a few times. So
yeah, exactly. So to me, even as a mid card feud and having Sammy, work really hard and get really close, even that would be fine if they're insistent on doing something with long thick neck. Then they could do that. But I mean, I don't know. Overall, kind of a waste for Sammy.
No, I agree.
All right.
I mean, I think Sami Zayn could actually be one of the bigger baby faces that we've seen recently, but
well, he's got a very Daniel Bryan-like appeal to him in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't understand why you would miss the boat with Zayn if you've already almost missed it with Bryan. You know what I mean? Like, you already had Daniel Bryan. You've had that particular learning experience. I feel like trying to do the same bullshit with Zayn is just like showing that you haven't learned anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's hard to find like naturally like appealing and like just over faces. You know what I mean? Without looking corny. And Zayn just has that. I don't know why they're not pushing him. They'll feed him to Strowman. Anyway.
Yeah. So we'll go to the end of the pay-per-view, sort of at the end. Mm-hmm. The rest of it, I thought it was a good pay-per-view. So let's just talk real briefly about TakeOver. Our TakeOver reviews are usually really easy because we pretty much both like them.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's see. I actually, for the first time, thought that Nakamura match may not have been the match of the night. It was a great match, but that tag team match was amazing.
Was incredible. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. So, and another great match with Nakamura Joe. What did you think of the end there? It looks like they're playing kind of hot potato with it now. I know that Joe beat him at TakeOver, and then Nakamura beat him in Osaka. Yeah. And now I guess they're going at it in Australia in a cage. So who do you think wins that? Because I can't tell.
I think Nakamura does. I think Joe's still going to be... I think Joe's going to hit the main roster before Nakamura does. As he should. I mean,
yeah.
I don't like... I wouldn't play it any other way. Joe is the only viable threat at this point. Well, I guess I should hold off on saying that since the ramifications of the main event of Survivor Series.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Joe can be thrown in that particular category as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I think he's one of the only people who can. So, I don't know how you don't push that guy on the main roster. Right after this. And Nakamura still has a good few. Like, I think Nakamura is going to be more prone to losing his title to, like, Bobby Roode or maybe Hideo Itami even. I mean, it's just... I don't think he's losing this title to Joe again.
No, I don't think so. All right. What else was I going to say? I was a little sad that Aries and Strong weren't on TakeOver.
Yeah, that was upsetting.
I like Paul Ellering as much as the next guy, but I don't understand his tag team. I mean, I'm presuming they're just going to be... The name is stupid. Everything is stupid about it. Paul Ellering doesn't even look like he knows what he's doing out there. He looks insane. I think there might be some elder abuse going on there. I think his family just kind of wanted to make some money off him, so it was just like, yeah, you can put him in a cage over the ring for no reason. So that's kind of weird. I really would have liked to have seen Roderick Strong, especially because there hasn't been a takeover since he got on the roster. So I really would have liked to have seen that. Rude is still firing on all cylinders, it seems.
Yeah. I can't imagine why he wouldn't be like at the top of the main roster card by not this upcoming WrestleMania, but the following.
Yeah.
Like, people are way behind Bobby Roode right now.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like what's going on with Aries? Is he hurt?
I think he might be. I know that
he was a commentator.
Yeah, he's a commentator on 205 Live.
Right.
And he's great on commentary. But like I'd rather see him in the ring. I think he might be recovering, which is fine. I mean, like if this is what like he's doing while he recovers, if he's pulling like a CM Punk, circa what was it, 2009 when Punk joined the Raw commentary team. Yeah, like if he's pulling one of those, and fantastic. Hopefully he recovers pretty quickly and is back in the ring. And until then, he's fine on commentary.
You have a chance to check 205 Live or no?
I did, yeah. It was actually a pretty fun show.
Yeah, I have not had a chance to check it out yet. Not for lack of trying, but I just have not had a chance to yet. I said, do you like the concept in general of giving those guys their own show back?
I kind of do. I mean, I think that's fine. I just think that I don't know where that leaves them in the mainstream, or even if they need a show. I don't even know if they need to be on Raw. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like they seem undervalued and obviously undervalued on Raw. That I don't know. I just feel like it might be a negative to have them there if they're not going to give them any type of real like value. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I feel like the way that the company looks at a division really does affect the way the fans also look at the division.
Yeah, well, I don't really know what went wrong on Raw, but clearly I think it was part of the way it was presented. I like the fact that they had kind of had their own ring set up and stuff like that, but it was just presented as just kind of like an inferior way. I think they probably would have been fine on SmackDown too.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't really know why it's different in saying that. I don't really know what the difference is. I don't know why they'd be fun on one show and not on another.
Oh, it's just because of how they've basically um, how Raw has approached wrestling for God knows how long. I think the stigma of Raw's like undervaluing actual like in-ring work
Yeah.
hasn't gone away, even though the wrestling has increased. The wrestling quality has increased. That stigma is just hard to shake, especially with the brand split.
Yeah. Well, and I think somebody had made the comment. It might have been the Classy guys, but they made the comment that it was kind of the third hour of SmackDown, which is not really a bad thing. I think maybe that could have had it work on Raw. Have it be either before or the after show or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
It would have probably worked. Probably before show would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have watched that before I would have watched Raw. Okay, so that would be that. Let's move on to the SmackDown pay-per-view. Did you watch that?
I did. I watched it in its entirety, actually.
I watched Westworld. It was awesome. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. I did watch Westworld, but I also watched the pay-per-view. Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the first time I've really seen her in a serious feud.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch the weekly TV on the regular, so I have to say she's pretty good.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy her. I don't know that I would have given her the belt off of Becky, but if somebody was going to do it, I think she made a fair amount of sense.
Yeah, I mean she's got a very well put together character. She's very natural.
Yeah,
she just knows who she is in the ring and who her character is. I think it's fine. I think I know she's going to be a transitional champion. I think the whole Nikki Bella versus Becky Lynch thing is being telegraphed on SmackDown for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So, eventually before that, I guess building another main eventer out of Alexa Bliss isn't necessarily a bad way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And as for the main event of that show, that might have been the best main show pay-per-view main event of the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that being said, I really kind of hated the ending.
Mm-hmm.
I really hated it. So if it doesn't get my match of the year vote, it's purely going to be for that ending. But as far as just the straight up and down Ambrose and Styles stuff, I mean, they could have done a straight ending for that, and I don't think the crowd or the viewing audience would have been upset with it.
No, let me ask.
And that's not to say that I don't enjoy the James Ellsworth stuff.
Do you?
Because in spite of myself, I find that I do enjoy it. I just don't think that this was the way to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Not on the blow off match.
No.
From Ambrose and Styles.
No. They could have given Styles the legit win. I know he's had enough legit wins already, but it wouldn't have hurt to give him like one decent title defense. Yeah. One clean title defense under his belt. But I guess we're. I mean, you said you enjoy the James Ellsworth stuff.
Well, there's going to be a shelf life on that for sure.
Holy shit! That shelf life hit like a good month ago for me now.
Well, okay, you got to realize I'm not watching the weekly TV.
Oh, that's true.
I don't tire of it as quickly. I catch it in like YouTube snippets and highlight packages, right? Mm-hmm. So a little bit easier for me, probably. Mm-hmm. I don't mind the idea that Ambrose is just going to be able to murder this kid now. That sounds like something I could enjoy. The idea. See, the thing is, I think you could have. The nice thing about the Ambrose and Styles thing to me, and why I didn't like the ending was. To me, they were in a place where you could have had either guy win, and it would have been believable. I was rooting for Styles, but I would have been absolutely fine with an Ambrose win.
Yeah, same here.
So to get neither, that's the worst thing about those blow off, dusty finish stuff, is that there's so few matches where you would accept either guy winning that it's twice as disappointing when they do it in a match like that.
Yeah. 100%.
But the match itself was pretty awesome. That I don't even know what you call it, where he sprung off the ropes and did the flip and put Dean through the table.
Oh, the springboard 450.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, overall, I enjoyed that one too. Not as much as the other two pay-per-views we mentioned, but I would probably certainly take it over a Raw pay-per-view, which I believe there's one coming, isn't there? Roadblock.
Roadblock, end of the line.
Don't ask me.
They put a tagline attached to the pay-per-view and made it the name of the pay-per-view. So it's like Roadblock something.
Roadblock, end of the line. Okay,
Yeah.
Well, whatever moves your furniture. So speaking of that, Sasha and Charlotte is going on that show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the Iron Woman match, the 30-minute one.
Okay. So they have had a feud. When did Sasha originally win that belt? I mean, I guess in theory you could say they've been feuding since WrestleMania.
Yeah. She's been she won the belt she won the belt on a Raw before SummerSlam.
And then lost it at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And then lost at Hell in a Cell.
Well, she won. I think she won it back.
Well, but she lost at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, and then she lost at Hell in a Cell.
And then won it back.
And then won it back again, yeah.
Okay. So I've enjoyed the matches. I think they've been really good. Are they? Has it been going on too long?
I think
I don't actually think it has, and I don't say that about. Oh well, I've probably never said it was a Divas feud. Frankly, 15 minutes was too long for a lot of back when they had the Divas.
Yeah.
And ever since they've sort of gone a different direction with it, most of the matches I find myself enjoying. But Sasha Charlotte has gone on for an inordinate amount of time.
I think this has to be the blow-off. I think that, this has to be the ending. I don't know where else and I think you need to have Sasha win this. And the only reason I say that, and the thing is, I've grown so fond of Charlotte, because she's, probably one of the best heels, if not the best heel on the card today.
Yeah.
But, at this point, that's the only way this feud is going to definitively win, is that if the champion, whoever the champion is, wins the next match. And that's Sasha right now, so, they need to just call it quits. This feud has gone on very long. I think it's still good, but before it gets stale, they need to call it off. Yeah,
no, I agree. But you don't think it's stale yet?
No.
I actually don't either, and I didn't really realize how long it had gone on until I had watched it. I like the fact that they're doing some title changes and stuff on Raws. I mean, you don't see them do that with the guys typically.
No.
So yeah, I liked it. I kind of like the way they've done. They haven't gone the predictable formula of just win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. We all thought Sasha was going to win at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
We all thought Sasha was going to win at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And certainly on Raws, you don't expect that type of thing. So they've done a really good job with it. The girls have done a good job. I am surprised they're doing another one. Pleasantly surprised, because they've already sort of planted the seeds with Bayley and Charlotte at Survivor Series. So I kind of expected that would be the next thing. But it's kind of nice that they're doing it again. With they're setting up. Whether Charlotte wins or loses, they're setting up her next thing ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's not something they have the foresight to do very often.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay. So who do you think who do you think wins the blow off, if this is the blow off?
If it's the blow off, then Sasha. Because you can always the rematch clause is always going to be there. You know what I mean? That's always something that they can and will pull. I think Sasha's gonna win this, and I think it's going to lead to her having a feud with Bayley at WrestleMania. I think there's gonna be a number one contendership feud between Charlotte and Bayley, which should be pretty damn good. You can put Sasha in a match with Nia Jax, or God, who's coming up? I know someone. Oh, Emelina is coming up to Raw.
Wait, whoa, what?
Emma.
Emma.
Yeah, she's changing her name to Emelina.
Oh, I thought you said Melina, and
No,
I'm
no.
like, whoa.
I mean, Melina wasn't horrible.
Yeah, she was, but that actually brings up something that is interesting that I did want to ask you about.
uh-huh.
Mickey James. I forgot to ask you about that when we were talking about NXT. What did you think about her?
Oh, she did a great job. Her and Asuka had a great match. It wasn't Asuka's best match, but it was definitely like Mickey James belongs in the current women's division, like no question. She fits in
Her,
well.
coming from where she came from, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's a tough thing to meet, and I honestly didn't know. I've never been against Mickey James or anything, but that's a tall target to hit, and it still feels weird even almost a year later saying that about the women's division. But yeah, I thought she did great. I was surprised. Apparently, she's headed to SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a mistake. I think
Okay,
SmackDown's talent depth is like as far as the women's division is concerned, is already there.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think she probably could do a little bit more on Raw or other stuff in NXT too.
Yeah, definitely.
It still have and again, it does. It feels absolutely bizarre saying it, but they have such a rich talent roster of women on Raw and SmackDown, and NXT they really don't have anybody. I'm really jonesing for the Ember Moon Asuka match that I'm sure we're going to get eventually.
Yeah, she's going to be the one to take the title off of Asuka.
Maybe so. I don't know. Asuka in the big scheme of things hasn't really been around that long either. It's kind of like Nakamura.
That's true.
I don't know. I'm fine either way. But the interesting thing is, they almost need they need more girls in NXT.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
and somebody from outside last time just to fill a pay-per-view slot.
Well, I think they're going to. I think they've already been trying. I mean, like, unfortunately, what happened was when they got the first cream of talented women into NXT, which included Charlotte, Sasha, Bailey, and Becky, and a few others. After that, it seemed like they just hired a bunch of mediocre Australian wrestlers. I mean, like, seriously, look at the like Billy Kay and like some other. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad. They're just
no.
They're just not on the level of like the women who are like champions right now on the main roster, or Asuka. Like they're definitely not on Asuka's level. But we'll see what happens. I mean, like I think I think they've been replenishing their developmentals. So hopefully they'll be pushed. And I mean, the next feud has to be Ember Moon. I can't see anyone else challenging Asuka. And I hope that feud is lengthy. Like I hope they have like a Samoa Joe Nakamura situation where they like have like a heated rivalry and it goes on through a couple of takeovers. Because I think the two of them can probably put on some stellar matches.
Or a baby or a Bailey Asuka thing, even like that, even
Yeah.
I hope that if they are ready to move anybody on from NXT, that they develop the people that they've got more, which is kind of a universal thing on NXT, and yet somehow NXT still seems to do well even in spite of that.
That's true.
So who am I to say? So a couple quick things, and then we'll get into the 115th installment of Us versus Classic Guys. Just a couple quick things. The Seth Rollins face turn.
Mm-hmm.
They did it. We talked about it. He came back. So talk me through this. He came back and he got a good reaction, but then he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then he got screwed by Triple H and Owens for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just kind of became a good guy for no reason. But it seems to me that he has become one of the most, well, not that he ever wasn't, but it seems to me that face turn is working quite well for him. Mm-hmm. Like he's pretty over at this point. Am I wrong about that? Like I just noticed that watching the last few pay-per-views. Like he gets pretty good reactions. That Hell in a Cell with Owens was where I really first noticed it. I mean, part of it is that he does amazing things, like that power bomb through the table that he gave to Owens.
Holy crap!
Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, seriously.
It was just a comment, it was a really shitty way to turn him face, in that I was cheating and then they decided to cheat with somebody else, and now I'm pissed off. I don't understand how anybody's supposed to like that. So I don't know if it's just the fact that Seth is really good, so it doesn't matter how you turn him. But he seems to be doing quite well. Like, what do you think? Do you think Seth is going to get that main event slot at WrestleMania?
I think that he's going to fight Triple H at WrestleMania. I think they've been trying to do that for a while. I will say this: I think the way that Seth Rollins turned is exactly how they should turn everyone, organically. Right. Like, he hasn't changed. He's still the same asshole that he was when he was getting booed. I should say when he was a heel, he never really got booed. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, it was very much. It wasn't the typical way that they do things, and it was kind of underwhelming. Like I said, I feel like part of the reason it worked though is because Seth Rollins is kind of Seth Rollins. Isn't it a little weird to be like, I was cheating with these guys, but then these other people started doing it, so now it's not me anymore, only because they dumped me, and now you should cheer me. That felt funky to me. And the only reason that it works for me is because I just happen to think Seth Rollins is super talented, and I really like watching him.
Yeah, but it also works on a broader scale because Rollins hasn't pandered to the fans.
No, that's true, and I think that is a large... Yeah, you're probably right. That probably is a large...
he hasn't changed his character at all. You know what I mean? Like, he's still, kind of a conniving asshole. He's jumped Owens on more than one occasion. He sneak attacked Jericho on more than one occasion. There have been times where he worked with Reigns, but only when it really suited his interests. Right. So, it really hasn't... he hasn't changed his character at all. The only difference is he's fighting the supposed heel. Okay. So, and yeah, he has gotten screwed, but he's never really come out and said, well, I should be cheered. He said, oh...
No, he's never done the Cena thing.
Yeah, he just came out and he said, oh, well, this motherfucker's not going to get away with it. So he's that's basically it. He's just nobody fucks with me. It's not the fact that, he has a moral compass. And I think that's why it works. That's the thing. That's how they should be looking at even Reigns. How Reigns turned face was just fucking weird as shit because he started pandering to the crowd and started doing all these catchphrases that didn't stick. Whereas Seth Rollins just he just fought the right guy. He has a feud right now with the right person. That's why he's getting cheered.
Okay. Couple other quick Raw things. I know that we've been fairly hard on Chris Jericho, and I tend not to just go... I tend not to have the same reactions as the crowd a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, I have become a fan of Chris Jericho's resurgence just these last few months.
This is by far been one of the best things he's done in his career.
Yeah, I don't really understand how that happened. Part of it is the list. Mm-hmm. And I mean, fair. I used to love Jericho. Yeah. It's the creepy friend's dad who tries to dress cool look that he really overdid. Mm-hmm. And the matches have not been spectacular, but I don't really, other than the list, but I feel like it's not just the list. I feel like whatever he's doing or however he's doing it now,
it's working.
I don't really know. Like I said, I tend not to really go just because it's a trend. That's why the Mizdow thing never worked for me. But I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm kind of loving watching Chris Jericho right now.
Maybe we're just getting old, and maybe we're just kind of falling into this way of popular opinion these days.
I don't like the sound of that at all. Now we were talking about Seth and Roman. They seem to have kind of switched positions. Seth is now fighting Jericho, and Roman's going for the world title. Yeah. That's a downgrade. The Classic guys talked about this too. The crowd is still not ready, nor will they ever be ready unless they do something different with Roman for him to be the world champion or be the top, good guy on the show.
I don't think they're going to pull the trigger with that yet. I think they would have taken the United States. I think they would have put the United States belt off of him if they were going to do that with him.
Yeah, maybe. But they love them Roman, and they never stop.
No.
So hopefully Owens. Owens is going to have the crowd in the palm of his hand for that one.
Oh, definitely.
Which should be fun to watch.
And Jericho and Rollins should be an amazing match to watch as well.
Rollins. Fun. I'm not happy that Seth is kind of knocked out of the title picture, but I do like the idea of a Seth Rollins Chris Jericho match.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's eventually going to get to a point where, I can telegraph this now, and I'm calling this. Jericho's going to win the Rumble.
Jericho's going to win the Rumble.
I'm calling that right now. Jericho's going to win the Rumble, and he's going to go on to fight Owens. Like, that's where that feud is going to culminate.
So you think the main event of WrestleMania is Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho?
No, the main event's going to be some part-timers versus some part-timers.
Okay, you think the Raw World Title match is going to be Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho at WrestleMania?
Yep.
No, not a chance.
I promise you. That's.
I'm not saying I don't hope you're right. I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do that. No.
I promise you, that's what they're going to do.
They're going to have some shinier guys out there, like your Romans or your. There's no way Romans is not in a title match.
All right.
And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're right, and no one is going to be happier to be wrong about this than me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very least, it'll be Rollins. At the very least, it'll be Rollins.
Rollins is fighting Triple H.
Well, the thing is, I can see that happening. But it'd be awesome to see. I just don't know. I can't see them putting their main show's title on those two guys for WrestleMania, and they should, and it would be a great idea. But I cannot see it happening.
Well,
okay, let's put the hat over the wall.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and if we're going to do this, and let me go ahead and list out what's going to happen for WrestleMania, and this is very early, but I'm going to go ahead and call this. Cena's having issues right now with WWE, from what people are saying. He's filming two movies back to back. He's going to show up for WrestleMania, but he's not going to have a match, which means somebody has to take his place fighting The Undertaker. That's going to be Roman. They're going to have a Reigns versus Undertaker match. They're going to have Rollins versus Trips. Owens versus Jericho, and Lesnar versus Goldberg II, because, I don't know why they want to do it again, but that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, okay, Roman and The Undertaker, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Roman Undertaker. I could see Rollins Undertaker. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I could see Jericho Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Owens Undertaker. I do not see Owens Jericho for the belt for WrestleMania. I just don't see it. I think it's a great idea. I think they should do that. I don't think there's any way. You remember what the main event of WrestleMania last year was, right? And that was for the Raw World Title.
Yeah.
Or was it?
I mean, it was for the World Title.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was for the World Title.
Yeah. There was only one. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that it's still Vince's toy. I think it's the one day out of the year. It's his wrestling Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's very interesting. Classy guys, if you're listening to this, throw that on your next show, because I actually would be interested to see what you guys thought about that. If that was a legit possibility. You guys are more in the loop than I am. Yeah. I don't.
And I'll even go as far as to say this. The match that will close out the show is going to be Sasha and Bayley.
Oh, that'd be great.
The match that's going to close out that show is going to be Sasha and Bayley.
I
have no doubt about that in my mind.
Well, I actually don't disagree with that. The women have had an amazing year.
Yeah.
Especially if you consider that their first year being taken seriously.
And even beyond that, every time they had a Sasha and Charlotte main event on Raw, the ratings spiked.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to matter.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, I feel like this is how Mania is going to play out, and I feel like I'm not really looking forward to Taker and Roman, but I think that's how they're going to play that card, personally.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So Just on the Classic guys had a real interesting thing about the draft, and we don't need to spend too long on this, but the GMs on the respective shows, do you feel like those work fairly well? Foley and Steph, do you think that works well?
I mean, I'm getting
keep it to a fair minimum.
Yeah, they don't do much, but I'm kind of getting tired of Foley coming out and like stressing he's very one dimensional as of late. He just comes out and stresses the importance of like matches. Like, you don't know how important this match is, or like coming out to Kevin Owens and saying like, look at what you're doing, you're making a mockery of the belt, and comes out to the women and be like, you've never been in Hell in a Cell before. You know, like, it kind of reminds me of like WWE's J. Jonah Jameson. Like,
yeah, it is interesting too that he's the one to come out and lecture people about the dangers of the cell.
Yeah.
So fair enough. Okay, so but I mean overall, the structure of it, you feel like is okay.
Yeah, I think Daniel Bryan particularly, he like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't watch Raw in its entirety anymore. 3 hours, but I have found myself watching more SmackDown, and even on nights that I don't necessarily have time to watch the entire show, what I will watch the entirety of is Talking Smack.
Yeah.
And like Renee Young is great on that show, but like Bryan really shines on that show, and I think like you see a lot of character development in that show that kind of rotates around Daniel Bryan. And it does wonders for other people too, like The Miz. I mean, like, I know you're not a fan of The Miz yet, BD, but like I have been.
We don't have time to unpack that.
But I will say, like, the growth that he has shown because of Daniel Bryan has been really interesting, and I don't necessarily think it would work with anyone outside of someone like The Miz. Like, Daniel Bryan is the worker. Like, Daniel Bryan is, like, this guy who is, like, the indie worker. And he's in charge now. So, like, your prototypical WWE guy from the past, like The Miz, is going to be the one griping. You know, he's going to be the disgruntled guy. And, like, if you want to be who better to be the poster child of, like, previous WWE, like, lackluster, safe-ass workers, you know, besides The Miz. So it works really well. Like, there's like a genuine like argument there that you could tell is like sincere, and I think that's why it works well.
Well, I mean, until you actually get in the ring, like, it's still really hard to watch somebody like The Miz get into the ring with somebody who is a better wrestler and just not believe that he would just kick his face in. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's one of the reasons why I never really got into Dolph and Miz. Because...
Did you watch the ladder match?
Yes, I did.
It wasn't a bad match. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it wasn't.
It was all right. Yeah, they had a handy prop they could use, and Ziggler. To me, it always comes back to that Miz Morrison thing. Oh, that Miz had a great match with Morrison. No, Morrison had a great match with a prop that managed to not get him killed as he flew all over the ring like a maniac, trying to make the Miz look good. So, you know, whatever. I mean, you're right. As far as things that you can have the Miz do, this is the most offensive one of them. But I don't. Miz isn't prototypical anymore. No, you know, the problem with the Miz is that he's so disliked that people boo him, and then they think, well, that's a strong reaction. We've got to hang on to this guy.
I'm gonna go against that. I'm gonna say that I would have agreed with you about a year ago, but I think now there is genuinely. I'm not a part of this, mind you, but there's genuinely like a specific part of the fan base that support his new like that are behind him because of what's happened recently. Now, look, I'm not watching Miz on a weekly basis. I'm not turning on SmackDown for the Miz. I don't like even when he had a match with Dean Ambrose or whatever. I didn't watch that match, but there are people who now do. Like, they're not you and me, but they're there, you know, and you know if they're coming to watch the show for the Miz, whether it be a temporary thing, which I think you and I both know this is a temporary thing. Miz does not have longevity.
Everything with the Miz is.
Yeah, this is not a longevity thing. But as long as he has that part of the fan base behind him, and he can at least gain some. He has some draw, which he does now. For now, I mean, he has some merit to being on the roster, and also I like his interactions with Daniel Bryan because Daniel Bryan really does like shine in those interactions. He's amazing in those interactions. That's one of the reasons why I like talking smack.
Right,
So.
because the Miz is terrible, and it's not really scripted when he's talking about the Miz. That's the thing. Like I don't, yeah. All right, we're gonna come back to that.
Yeah.
Maybe next time, because
Yeah.
this will never end otherwise. So speaking of in terms of seeing somebody, if I have to see them, I guess this is not a bad way. Sheamus and Cesaro.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something the Classy guys touched on.
Yeah.
They're big fans of Sheamus and Cesaro.
Mm-hmm.
They like the story. They like the angle.
Yeah.
I will say that Reluctant Tag Team Partners is a pretty easy story to pull off, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
It's decent. This has led to our buddy Joel, who I was so proud of a couple years ago, getting back on the Sheamus train. And he made the quote that I wrote down was, Sheamus has the ability, talent, and drive to succeed in the business. Now, success is relative.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, we'll see. I would say that Sheamus has the drive. I would say he's motivated. I would say he works hard.
Yeah.
As far as ability and talent goes, though, it's like the Miz. It's never worked. It's not going to work for me. He could bring a rocket launcher to the ring and have it be legal, I think. And short of that, I just don't see what there is there. So what do you say? Sheamus and Cesaro, what's your kind of take on it there?
I think it's fun. I think it's temporary. I think it needs to be used to help boost Cesaro.
Well, that brings up something interesting that Joel had said. This is elevating Sheamus more than it's bringing down Cesaro. And I don't see how that's a good thing.
No, that's not. And that's not what it's doing.
Well, I mean, it is elevating Sheamus a fair bit. Cesaro is still ridiculously over. I still think it's doing Cesaro more harm than good for Sheamus, because the thing is, it's back to the Mizdow thing. Mm-hmm. That did not elevate Damien Sandow or the Miz in any meaningful way. As soon as it was over, it's done, and it's not going to help either one of them.
Yeah, but
Damien Sandow was the one that needed help there, because he was the good one.
I agree, but I'm looking. I think when I look at Cesaro and Sheamus, I'm thinking less the Mizdow thing, and I'm thinking more Daniel Bryan and Kane. I think these two are legit like an off kilter pairing, kind of the same way that Bryan and Kane were. I think there is definitely one who is way more over than the other one. However, the dichotomy of both of them is what people like, and I think in the end, I think Cesaro will be like, no one's gonna remember Sheamus, no one's gonna push for Sheamus a single run. You know what I mean? After this is done, but they will still be pushing for Cesaro's. And the only thing, and a really good productive thing that's going to come out of this particular teaming is the fact that just like Bryan developed, kind of a charming character element that wasn't necessarily there before. I mean, he was still charming without the Kane thing, but it definitely helped him. It definitely added something into his arsenal. I think Cesaro is going to get that same thing from this tag team. I think he's going to gain that charming element to his character. He obviously doesn't need any help in the ring. He's already miles ahead of most people on the roster when it comes to talent. But if this is going to help him by putting that little bit extra into his character, and I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, Is Sheamus going to be on my television? Yes. Has he been a little bit less intolerable recently because of this tag team? Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. But do I want to see him after this thing is over? No. And I just hope that, Cesaro gets a huge fucking rub from this team. Hopefully that'll be what happens. I mean, I think the classy guys. I think Joel, when he did say that, I think Joel wants to see the good in everything, and
he does. He's very innocent that way.
Yeah, and I respect that. I do. I mean, like I said,
Yep.
I think the tag team is a good thing. It can be a good thing, but for completely different reasons. And I think we need to stop looking at this as a Sheamus thing. It isn't. It just isn't. Sheamus is very much. I wouldn't even say the
guy that got put there.
I wouldn't even say the Robin to Batman. I wouldn't even say Alfred to Batman. He's like Commissioner Gordon's lieutenant to Batman. You know what I mean? Like that's what how we have to look at this. Like he's kind of there to be funny and add a little bit to the story of of Cesaro or Batman.
Okay.
You know. I should actually be using a James Bond reference since he does come out with with that pretty awesome Bond Titantron. Damn, I'm off today. I apologize.
Yeah. Well, I think too part of it is, it's this thing they won't fire former champions really. That's why Jack Swagger still has a job. That's why The Miz is there.
Mm-hmm.
They just won't do it. That's why Sheamus is there. I don't see an argument for them otherwise.
Well, somebody could show up on TNA Wrestling and talk bad about WWE, and you know how Vince really hates that. I'm
pretty sure he didn't lose any sleep over Cody's brief flirtation or Damian Sando's complete failure. Even in TNA. I mean, to fail in TNA that's hard to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
All right. Main segment. But this is probably going to be super short because I'm pretty sure we're both going to have the same thought about this. Goldberg Brock.
Oh my God.
Where to begin?
Where to end it?
Thought.
Here's my thought before Survivor Series. That would have been a perfect time to end it.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna give you the first one on this, BD. Why don't you go ahead?
All right. This was fucking stupid. That's all I got. Okay, so Joel and Chris ended up. They found that they liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that this was a double dose of bad because the match was terrible. They completely glossed over the fact that they probably only had a 30-second match because, or a minute and 30-second match because Goldberg is incapable of having a longer match.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can bright side that if you like to, and that the match probably wouldn't have been very good anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to go this way. At least we didn't have to suffer for long.
Mm-hmm.
They did take away my my desired result of having the crowd beat the shit out of the match.
Uh-huh.
And the second part of the double whammy was now we have to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
At least once more.
Yep, at least once.
Why? Like I said, this may not be a long segment. I don't remember everything they kind of said. They kind of talked about our little debate about it. They mentioned that you call people Brock marks, but I'm pretty sure you called me the Brock mark.
I did call you a Brock mark, and I think you need to come to terms with that at some point or another. But
no, not at all. I mean,
oh my goodness!
Now I couldn't. Especially now I couldn't care less. I was a fan of the Brock story because it was an easy story to tell. It would have had an extremely long-term payoff. It was the modern equivalent of the streak.
Mm-hmm.
It was told over a shorter period of time. Legit combat athlete. Lest we forget, I wasn't exactly a fan of Brock's first 2 years back in the company when it was the Cena Triple H time.
Mm-hmm.
That did not go well. I think he's capable of having good matches, which is just kind of icing on the cake. Goldberg isn't one of those matches. But now, it doesn't matter now. He just got beat by a 50-year-old dude. I was more a fan of the Brock story than I am of Brock himself. But this makes absolutely no sense to me. Where do they go with it in your mind?
I mean, there's only one thing you can do is that, you need to have Brock come back and beat Goldberg. And, like...
But that's just going to make it 2-1. If they even want to tie it up, that's still 2 more matches. Frankly, 1 was too many.
I don't know what else to do with this. Like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
No.
Like, to be completely honest, like, it's just, all right. So my whole perception of the whole Brock Lesnar thing, especially like right before Survivor, this whole year basically, my whole thing was, okay, this is boring me to at least some extent. I'm kind of tired of watching Brock do the suplex thing over and over again. It's not a good wrestling match. It really isn't.
Okay.
He had good matches. He's capable of having good matches. But now that they found that this is like what sells T-shirts, this is what they wanted to stick with, is Brock coming out and suplexing motherfuckers. And although that was a fun novelty match with Cena, and although him beating Undertaker for or breaking the streak has merit, or had merit, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
My whole perception this year on 2016 on Brock Lesnar was whoever beats him will get the biggest rub on that you could possibly get.
Right.
And you need to give that to someone who is up and coming.
At
least in this
not out and going.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I was thinking, hey, I think you and I talked about this like several times.
Nora,
Yeah.
AJ,
anybody.
Joe.
Yeah, I mean, anyone. Like AJ would have gotten it, and I mean, I know he already beat Cena clean, but hey, beating Lesnar clean would have definitely cemented him. Nakamura, Joe, Owens, the list goes on. We can list a good number of people because the roster is pretty plentiful of up-and-comers who are good in the ring.
And they gave it to Goldberg.
And then they gave it to Goldberg. And it wasn't just that they gave it to Goldberg, but they gave it to Goldberg in a squash match.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't really know. I just don't know why they thought this was a good idea. Momentary, did it pop the crowd? Yeah, because it was unexpected. It was just like, somebody cashing in Money in the Bank times 100 because it was just such an unexpected thing to happen.
Right.
But like, yeah, I mean, like, I just don't understand exactly what they were aiming for here. Like, what is the long-term plan for this? Because obviously they have one.
Well, yeah, one would hope. I mean, I assume it's sort of like with one of the stories we talked about earlier. I presume Brock's in the Rumble, or Goldberg's in the Rumble, and Brock's going to come screw him.
Yeah.
They're going to come have a match, and maybe Brock wins. But so what?
And not only that, but like it's a repeat of their like 2000, was it 2002? 2004? That's exactly
whatever it was.
That's exactly what the fuck happened. Like Goldberg was in the Rumble and he was about to win, and then Brock comes out and screws him. Like that's exactly what happened.
Well, yeah, and how did that end? That whole thing. That's what I don't get. I don't understand it. And I it used to be, after the first few years,
Mm-hmm.
I used to be, it's just like, no, they probably would put the world title on Sheamus again. Now I'm kind of at the point where I'm just like, well, I'm guessing they probably won't go that crazy again. But I'm going to have to revisit that because this was not a good idea. And
it wasn't even a year ago when they gave Triple H the belt. Just remember that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they did Triple H and Roman at WrestleMania, even though I was positive they weren't going to. I don't understand what they could possibly. Like I said, I assume this is leading to a Mania match. I did read a kind of a funny story where everybody, like, this is like a backstage thing. Who knows if it's true? But everybody was afraid to tell Brock about it or ask Brock about it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of laughed and said, "Let's do it. You're gonna pay me to do what?" You because he don't care, obviously.
No.
Which is fine. It's a good mindset to have. Just get paid, go home, have fun, be happy.
I mean, that sounds like the model employee to me. I mean, as an employee, if I were Vince, I was like, oh, fuck, this is fantastic. Just throw this guy some money. He'll do anything.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't question that. I just question, like, what are you going to get out of Goldberg long term?
I mean, I think they're just trying to build, and I think this is short-sighted, but
Yeah.
I think what they're trying to do is make Brock Lesnar interesting. Like, I think they're trying to give him his, I think they're trying to give him some depth, and that is,
To me, Brock is a character that should have anti-depth.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense for him to have any depth. Like,
Yeah.
why?
They've tried that. It worked once. It worked when they put a sombrero on him and they had him go make fun of Eddie Guerrero because he was so over the top with it, or he was potentially possibly drunk. I don't know what it was. It was like the one time where doing something outside of his, out of what he just kind of does normally anyway, worked, and that was a fluke. I don't. Yeah, like I said, this is probably going to be pretty short because we probably both think it's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so looking forward to the inevitable Brock eliminating Goldberg from the Royal Rumble. Yeah, I just don't understand how it's a good payoff. A surprising 2-minute payoff. Joel even said somebody, I forget who it was, but one of their buddies that we saw in the spring, they were all watching the pay-per-view together, and what the guy said, wouldn't it be hilarious if Goldberg just crushed him in 2 minutes? Well, they did that.
Well, no, they crushed him in 1 minute and 40-something seconds, but...
Yeah. Wouldn't it be hilarious if, and everybody laughed, and then he does it, and now they're like, this is a great idea. What?
No. I mean, you gotta call a spade a spade. There is no, real potential outside of this except for giving Brock depth, and that doesn't really give you anything. Except for...
What are you going to get out of Brock anyway? You're going to give him a little bit of depth. He'll get back over on Goldberg. It'll probably still be either tied or Goldberg will be up 2-1 or whatever. And then what? Then you're just going to hopefully do the same thing we talked about earlier, which is, let somebody else beat Brock. But isn't that diminishing returns now?
Oh, hell yeah. Who the fuck cares?
Exactly. Oh wow, Nakamura beat Brock, and that was that. They made the point of saying that on CR Attire too, which is that it's still going to mean just as much if somebody beats Brock. Well, no,
it isn't. No, I mean, come on, that's gullibility. Let's be real here. The stock has diminished. Actions have repercussions. Booking decisions they have repercussions, and this is a repercussion.
Everything back. You can walk some small stuff back, sure, but you can't. Big stuff back. If AJ beats Brock now, it's just a 50-year-old man who hasn't wrestled in 12 years beat Brock in 2 minutes. So,
yeah, exactly.
And he was hurt at the time, I believe. So I'm not that interested anymore. Like I said, it really. I mean, we've yet to see Brock since then, so I guess I can't say until I see him. But I really cannot see anything happening where I will be interested in Brock again. Because it really was all storyline with him for me. It was a long-term storyline. It wasn't so much him himself. It helped that he was a big, nasty SOB who didn't give a fuck, because that sort of played into his attitude. But it really was the story. I was not into Brock until he beat Undertaker.
Well, that's the thing. The most dominant man, the most intimidating man in the past 10 to 20 fucking years in professional wrestling had to use a nut shot to beat Brock Lesnar.
Exactly.
And a 50-year-old dude who never wrestles beat him in what? Holy crap. Excuse me. Apparently, other people are dissatisfied with the Survivor Series ending as well.
Yeah. All right, well, that's okay, because I probably got to call today anyway. But, I look super forward to seeing what they do with this, because... And I mean, and Joel and Chris, don't pick up and not be like, see, it's working. He wants to see what happens next. That's going to be really annoying, and that's going to piss me off. So don't say that.
Yeah, I will say this. I'll concede to the fact that Joel and Sandy were right about Goldberg having a good portion of the fan behind him.
They got it.
He had way more support than I thought he would get.
Well, it's not that hard when you pipe the chant. Anyway, let's just take a quick second to congratulate Woodrow for staying on top of the Trashy Ring Attire Open, and let's congratulate you for making an impressive jump up to second from, I believe you were in fifth with me.
Yeah.
You are tied with Micah Rabbi for second, 100 points, 3 points behind Ridro. So you are within striking distance.
Oh, I'm crushing it. When Jericho wins the Rumble, I will be way
When Jericho wins the
ahead.
Rumble, that's going to be 5 points, and I'm pretty sure nobody else is going to be picking Chris Jericho to win the Rumble in 2016. So if you win, you deserve these DVDs. Buddy.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for voting. Roadblock will be, when is Roadblock?
2 weeks. So we'll probably do one more episode before the Rumble. I mean, like, the holidays are coming up, so.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I hope CRA listens. I hope we get something back because, you guys were in rare form.
You can follow us on Twitter at TR Attire. You can follow myself at BD_CRA. You can follow my friend Jonah here at JonahQ, KUE. Check us out on Inside Pulse Wrestling and subscribe to us on iTunes. It's the easiest way to get the new shows.
And until next time, keep it trashy.
Smoking funk by the boxes, packing blocks. It's natural to eat your niggas like chocolates. The funk, baby. All I want is bitches, big booty bitches. Used to sell crack so I could stack my riches. Now I pack gats to stop all the snitches from staying in my business. What is this? Relentless approach to know if I'm broke or not. Just cause I joke and smoke a lot don't mean I don't tote the Glock.